You all know with opening day and baseball on the mind, you guys know how crazy I am about the Caps and been watching the Wizards and kind of getting into that a whole bunch this year. But I spent last week out in the desert before I found myself on my back for 4 days watching some cactus baseball and experiencing one of the stranger occurrences of my career. Well, I feel like I've done a lot of things in my 32 years of journalism and 25 years on radio. But being a guy who lost his football team in 1984 in the middle of the night to the Mayflowers, and then got a team back under stolen conditions with the Modells and what it's meant to my life over the last 22 years. It has pained me to watch friends of mine in San Diego and Oakland and St. Louis deal with this. I've had many of them on. Zenny Abraham is one of those guys that I've met by the by and through media pals like Mike Silver and some others and people out in the Bay Area that we know in common. He is Zenny, Zennie 62. He is a social media maven, Comic-Con, Oscars, and all over the internet and YouTube. But you can find him at Zenny62blog.com as well. He is Mr. Oakland in my mind. And Zenny, I got to tell you, man, if there was ever a point where I would have been old enough to be around when they were letting the Colts leave town in a press conference, I would have been right where you were sitting in the front row, peppering Roger Goodell with questions about it. But you and I have talked about this many times in the past. This was not a shock that Oakland lost the Raiders, Zenny.
Well, it's not over. And I know people are going to laugh and all this other stuff, but I'll tell you why it's not over. First of all, the Raiders now have not one, but two franchise right areas, Oakland and Las Vegas. And as I said before, and I've said it again, and if I didn't say it before, and I didn't say it again, I'll say it now, it's a bad deal. And the Raiders go into Las Vegas without anything. They don't own land. They don't have a stadium done. They don't have a developer. They don't have any other financing other than what they've said to, receive from Bank of America, which none of us have seen. And now the last 3 articles that have been posted about the Raider deal in Las Vegas have all been negative out of Las Vegas. And on top of all that, Mark Davis is conflicted. He is not happy. He feels like, gee, I did this. Why am I not happy? Okay? So that spells turnaround. And they're not gone yet.
Well, I mean, what could possibly happen there that would save them? One scenario that has been brought up, and I know, Mike Silver and, a bunch of different people in and around the team has said that if Mark Davis wanted to sell some sort of, buy me a piece now and buy me a piece later. Look, we're very familiar with that with Steve Bisciotti, right? I mean, Steve Bisciotti was on the 5-year plan, that if someone were to give Mark Davis the 10 or the 15-year plan, some billionaire, Silicon Valley guy, there's plenty. The weirdest part is there's plenty of money there if you want to have a frivolous facility that brings U2 concerts in and soccer games and all of that stuff that Santa Clara has represented. There's also Santa Clara, which is, it's inconceivable to people on the East Coast that the Raiders just wouldn't go 40 minutes south and play there.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I remind everyone, the NFL has simply given Mark Davis the right to move. But there's nothing saying you've got to move, A. B, the situation could turn around. The city of Oakland could, strike lightning in the heads of the politicians and my god sister, the mayor, and they could say, you know what, we're going to give the NFL the land anyway, even after this vote. And I'll tell you, Nestor, had we done that the Friday prior to the annual meeting, we wouldn't be talking about the Raiders leaving, or having the right to leave, I should say, but staying in Oakland, period, and embarking on the Fortress plan. But my point is that, and I remind everyone of this, this is Oakland and this is the Raiders, and this is Mark Davis. And Mark Davis has basically, over the last 3 to 4 days, lamented to a number of people that he's not sure about what he did, but he feels obligated to, of all people, and I don't say this, insultingly, but I'm saying of all the people he would feel obligated to, this is the person, the governor of Nevada. He feels that he has to carry through with a promise to the governor. But having said that, it's costing him the Raider fan base, and there are a number of people he's talking to who are saying, hey, you know what? What about us? We're your fans. And he goes, oh, yeah, I know. And then he broke down and cried a few days ago. So my point is that he is not happy with this, and it could turn.
Well,
And
I mean,
he's
I know
being
how
told by
difficult
some
it is. I
sharks.
mean, we lost David Modell here a couple months ago. You know, David went the rest of his life never going back to Cleveland. Obviously, you know, Art and, you know, what their family's name and the Hall of Fame and all. You know, there's a lot more that goes into this because Mark Davis isn't going to be eating filet mignon tonight or lobster at the P.F. Chang's out there in the Bay Area because the team's in one place or another. But they can't. They just could not continue to play in that stadium. I mean, Zenny, you would agree
Well, that's
with
the thing.
that.
It's not the stadium, but here's the thing. Everybody brings up the stadium as if there was never a plan to refurbishment. Nestor, that's not true. The plan that was presented to the Raiders and to the NFL has been in existence since 2012. The infrastructure and financing was developed by my friend Fred Blackwell, who's now the CEO of the San Francisco Foundation, where he was assistant city administrator for the city of Oakland. So that development is in place. The only thing that was remaining was the right to the land that the NFL and Mark Davis wanted. That didn't happen, and so the NFL pulled the trigger. Also, the mayor of Oakland, Libby Schaaf, put out a letter, which I thought, when I heard about it at first Sunday night, was actually 11th hour, we'll give you the land, right? But it wasn't. It was more reiteration of what she had asked for, and then a call for a secret ballot, which she didn't get. And they got an open ballot. If they had got a secret ballot, we would have had 9 votes no. Open ballot, we got 1. That was Stephen Ross. And I met Mr. Ross at Donovan's Steakhouse, and Mr. Ross said, I hope that deal fails. So, because, you know, they don't have any money. The Raiders are going in there over-leveraged. They're going into Vegas, if they decide to go, with as much leverage as a piss-poor South American country.
Zenny Abraham joining us here. He is Zenny62. I'm sorry, Zenny. You know, all I can think about, and I'm from Baltimore, bro, okay? So, I mean, I watched it all fall apart. I'm old enough. I mean, I remember the Mayflowers moving out. I went to a lot of Colts games as a kid here in Baltimore, you know? And I was at Ghost to the Post in 77. How about that, bro? So, you know, just to tell you how far back I go.
Now, I remember I was watching with my mom. We were going nuts and rooting against you guys, and Dave Casper handled my 401k. So there you go.
Well, you know, the Raiders also kicked off the era of the Ravens. They were the first opponent here. And I'll never forget walking into 33rd Street into that rickety old press box up on the mezzanine level. And there's Al Davis sitting there. He was wearing the white Raiders jacket that day. The white, not the black one, the white one. You know what I'm talking about.
One.
The white sweatsuit was that day. You can Google that, but that was September 1st of 96. Absolutely. You know the one. I mean, you've seen that one before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen him all kinds. Because I also tried to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland. And I remember he was going down the escalator at the Hyatt Regency Chicago at 99. I was going up, and I was dressed all in black, and just to honor the Raiders. And I think he thought I was a reporter. I said, Mr. Davis goes, I don't want any questions. And then later he realized who I was.
I rode on a plane with him from L.A. up to the Bay Area the morning after the owners' meetings, and he sat in the row in front of me with I guess a lady that sort of like was his secretary-ish kind of thing, or his you know, the woman that was his sort of handler and sort, you know, whatever. I don't know.
Amy Trask?
No, it wasn't Amy. No. This was an older. This wasn't Amy. Amy comes on all the time, and he had a whole bunch of young scouts, all in Raiders gear, and he spent the flight's 45-minute flight. It's not a long flight, and all he talked about on the plane, and it was this week, right? But it was maybe 8 or 9 years ago, whenever it was. All he talked about was the women's NCAA basketball tournament. He was a junkie for the women's bracket. He didn't talk about the men's bracket. He was talking about the women's bracket. So I did have a little experience with him. And, look, Jack Del Rio's been a longtime friend of mine. I've known him for a couple of decades. I think you know that. I have a special affinity for the Raiders because Jack allowed me and my wife and her donor to step in front of the team back in November and address the team. We swabbed 41. Yeah, you can Google it and YouTube it. We swabbed 41 of the Raiders for the bone marrow registry, including Derek Carr right before he got injured later on that month. So, the Raiders have been good to me. I will go to Vegas if they're in Vegas. I'll go to Oakland if they're in Oakland. But I love that old dump, Zenny. I've told you this many times. I love it. It reminds me of 33rd Street. You know?
I mean, I'll tell you something that I told the Oakland City Council when I represented Oakland Mayor Ellie Harris, and this was October 6th of 1997 at the Community Economic Development Agency meeting. That morning, I had on the agenda the matter of refurbishing our stadiums, and it was a shock because as then council member and now Alameda County Supervisor Nate Miley pointed out, Zinni, we just brought back the Raiders for $220 million to our stadium. You're telling me that they're going to be obsolete? And I said, yeah, because we brought the Raiders back and we remade the Coliseum for the Raiders, but we didn't remake it state of the art. And so, for example, one of the problems, to mention a myriad number of them, is that Block Consulting, which is a food consulting company at the time, this is 1995, 94, when it was being planned, came up with an idea and a schematic for a $10 million central kitchen between the stadium and what is now called Oracle Arena. Well, now that is obsolete to the point where in the new Warriors Arena, one of the systems they'll have are satellite kitchens, which do one thing: place the ovens closer to the delivery points to the different people that would order dinner, be it in a suite or in any other club area and so on. It makes faster delivery. So we can do that. We have to basically tear up the arena to make that happen. All right, that's the same for the stadium. That development has been in place in terms of an evolution in sports facilities over the past 12 years, and we are behind. So my point is that it's an old dump, but we've all advocated for it to be upgraded. The problem is that and I'm going to be very blunt, Nestor, is Oakland politicians have become more like Berkeley politicians. We don't think about fixing infrastructure. We think about resolutions that have to do with national issues, not basically fixing the streets and roads. And that's gotten us into a lot of trouble, to the point where we're talking about demolishing the Coliseum and Oracle Arena. And as I pointed out to the mayor in a conversation, I can say this part of the conversation, I can't say the other part of it, but I said, look, we don't have enough convention space, and here you are, you want to tear down Oracle Arena. And she goes, well, I don't think that's actually what we're going to do. I said, yeah, well, it's a good idea to really sit back and think about these things. And the other problem we have is that with respect to the A's and with respect to the land issue, we're caught in, we've never had this in the history of Oakland, what I'm about to tell you. One sports team, the Athletics, basically holding up where we decide to put our land use. Either they go to the Coliseum, or they go to Howard Terminal at the port, or they go to Laney College. Because the mayor didn't say, you know what, I want you at Howard Terminal, and we're going to give the land to the Raiders. If she had said that, done deal. I hate saying that term, God dog it. It's a cliche. But the bottom line is the Raiders and the NFL would have voted to be in Oakland.
Last thing for you, how's this going to work? I mean, how are they really going to play games? We play the Raiders this year, wherever they're going to play.
Right.
Do you really? I mean, I think everybody believes they're going to play in Oakland this year, right? I mean,
I'm not convinced they're gone. I'm sorry, the deal.
No,
is not
but I mean,
done.
this year, if they are gone, how can they continue to play there peacefully? Peacefully. That would never have happened in Baltimore or Cleveland.
The initial idea was to kick the Raiders out this year. That's not going to happen. But what's going on is everyone is coming to, including Mark Davis himself, Nestor, and I'm saying this and I'm pressing this point. The man is not jazzed about going to Las Vegas. Okay, he is conflicted. And as long as he's conflicted and weak, we got a chance to save this thing. So do not say it's over. It ain't over. I'm telling you this right now. People can laugh at me. I don't care. It's not over. It ain't over until they really are out of here. It ain't over until they break ground in Las Vegas on a stadium. That's going to take a long time. They're not going to make 2020. All right, even Las Vegas people recognize that. Maybe 2022 if they're lucky. But they ain't going anywhere, man. I'm sorry. I still can't see this deal working out. And I still can't see Davis wanting it. I just can't see it.
Zenny, I appreciate the insights that you have out there in Oakland, and I know you've been inside of this for a long, long time. And my heart breaks for. I mean, the San Diego thing is from the outside, I don't think the Oakland thing. I think it's kind of crazy that they don't want to be there in a bigger market.
It's very crazy,
and I get that part of it. The San Diego thing makes even less sense to be going where there's already a team. There is some
Oakland
validity
is going by leaps and bounds. To want to leave Oakland now, and you're a pro football organization, is nuts. But I can understand they want the land. That's a great thing to want. I told the mayor, give them the land, you got a new property tax payer. Do it. We make some money from it. It's aggravating.
Zenny, I
We got an election
appreciate you, man.
next year.
Good
I
luck with
appreciate you,
everything
too.
out there. And, wherever the Raiders are, I'll be there when the Ravens play them this year, and you and I will have a beverage together, all right?
You got it. Sounds great, man.
Lifer Oakland dude and Raider guy. He is Zenny62 out on Twitter. That's Zennie, and Zenny62blog.com. He is a social media maven out there covering all things politics, entertainment, sports. If it matters, Zenny's on it. He's a good dude. And I feel awful for him. Hundreds of thousands of followers Zenny Abraham has, so go check him out. You can find me, Nasty, at WNST.net. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. And anything you missed this week here during opening day week, you can find in the Buy a Toyota audio vault at WNST.net. Luke's going to be with the Orioles this week. We'll be tweeting away, Facebooking, linking in, Snapchatting, doing all of that good stuff. And if there's any breaking news, you'll get it first on the WNST text service. That is brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. The London trip is up and running, and the aforementioned Raiders trip, wherever that may be, Nashville, Green Bay, and Minnesota, where the Super Bowl is this year. Hopefully get a couple trips there. It's all up at WNST.net. Anyone who's been on any of our trips in the past, you get $100 off. Can't beat that deal. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST.net. Wishing you a happy opening day week as baseball kicks off and the Caps and the Wizards get ready for playoff action. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.